For loyalty marketeers, I think the real challenge here is how do we become and stay order makers rather than order takers? Holding the line is an article that kind of bridges both sides of the equation, how we engage internally. So how do we ensure that we're holding the line when we're asked to do things to the program? And we see this in many programs. I mean, every time a program gets devalued, it makes the headlines in the press. But that is essentially disrupting flow. And sometimes you have to do it for economic reasons. But we're always under pressure to cut costs. And that essentially just makes earning harder for customers, which can drop them down from a flow point of view and reduce their overall participation. Increasingly, the people are trying to disrupt flow by moving from nudging behavior to actually blocking behavior. So, examples would be removing a whole channel from earning for loyalty. I mean, hotels are doing this where, if you book through an OTA, you can no longer earn hotel loyalty points. But for many people, they don't get an option of where to book. And so you're making it harder for the customer because they can't earn loyalty value, and that starts to disrupt them and take them out of flow. We can dilute programs by opening up the interaction too wide. So, when we capture customer data, we obviously have the ability to talk to that customer. But if everybody wants to talk to that customer, you dilute that interaction because the messages are not coordinated anymore. And so you're not in control of flow. So it's a real challenge to maintain flow when you can't, in essence, maintain the customer contact. Another area where people are disrupting flow is around exposing the program mechanics. It's very tempting sometimes to look at, how we make money and where the margin sits, and then to transparently just map points or tiering against that margin. The problem with that is you start to expose the mechanics of the program to show customers how they're earning. And from a customer point of view, you start to tell me how you're making money, and I have to pay for my own loyalty. I can see the price difference, say, between two different flights. There's fundamentally no difference in the actual flight, maybe a little bit more baggage. It's the same seat on the same flight. And so you're making me do a calculation to decide whether I actually want to pay for my own points. That starts to disrupt flow because in essence, you're changing the rules of the game. Customers aren't logical. As soon as you start to put logic into the process, then you make them logical. You make them start to become transactional to transact. And then you lose value in the overall. So for loyalty marketeers, I think the real challenge here is how do we become and stay order makers rather than order takers? And by that, I mean, our focus should be to create value for customers, to create customer value. The danger here is that we become an order taker, where essentially we're selling our customers. We're selling the data, we're selling the value, we're selling the access, and not really thinking about how we're generating more engagement with the customer, just how we're generating more from the customer. And so the loyalty marketer has really got to walk a fine line to ensure that we're staying as an order maker, not an order taker. So take a read of the article. The link's below in the comments. I'd love to get your thoughts. You can either comment here or comment on the article itself, and make sure that you stay up to date and subscribe now.